Hey, what's up, everyone? Good morning. Your friend Dean Kulaweera here. Every Wednesday, I'm live right here, 11 a.m. Eastern Time Zone, to help you folks out with job search tips, advice, strategies, stuff that you can apply to your job search, regardless of who you are, where you are in the world. I try to share my experiences from the perspective of a recruiter, as someone who's worked in the recruitment industry for over 8+ years. Over 8+ years, I guess that's kind of redundant, but for eight plus years. And yes, I've definitely mostly been specialized in IT recruitment, but I try to talk about stuff and share, again, those tips and strategies that are applicable across the board. All right. So even if you're not an IT professional, I still want you here. I definitely still want to see you in the comments. So don't be shy. For those of you tuning in, make sure you introduce yourself in the comments. Let me know if my audio and video is clear. I'm just gonna quickly check on something at my end as well. Yeah, looks like I am live and I'm not talking to myself, so that's always a good thing. So hey, look, I hope everyone's doing great. Hope everyone's doing fantastic. You're having a great week. What I'm gonna talk about today, folks, and today's topic is your mindset at interviews. All right, so today's more about the mental stuff today that you need to be not need to be doing, but that's going to help you shift your perspective as a job applicant. All right. So if you're someone that has interviews around the corner, or you've been interviewing, you're kind of figuring out, hey, how come things aren't really going my way, or how come I'm not making a great impression on the hiring team? I'm going to share with you today some minor, it's not going to be some mind-blowing adjustments here, but I'm going to be sharing with you some pivots and adjustments you need to be making mentally in how you approach job interviews that will make a difference in how you present yourself at job interviews, and help you better formulate your interview strategy and better prepare for your interviews. All right. So those of you tuning in for the first time, welcome. Thanks so much for tuning in, and hope you continue to tune in every week on Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern Time Zone. I'm right here to help you folks out with those tips and strategies for your job search. Right. And by the way, if you have questions, they don't necessarily have to be related to today's topic. Anything job search related, anything recruitment related, feel free to start dropping them in the comments, and I'll get to all of the questions pretty much by the end of the session, if not while I'm discussing the various topics that I'll be discussing. All right. So let's see here. We got my friend from YouTube, Ashwin, in the house. Ashwin says, "Hey Dean, how are you?" Hey Ashwin, I'm doing great. Always great to see you here. Hope you're doing great, my friend, as well. And always appreciate you tuning in and watching through YouTube. All right. So appreciate that, Ashwin, and good to have you here. Now, quick shout out to everyone also tuning in on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, as well as what else? I said LinkedIn already, and also YouTube, right? So appreciate everyone tuning in from those various channels. And if you want to follow me, by the way, on any of my other social channels, you can find all my social links at this website, which is linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter. That's linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter. Unfortunately, this is not a clickable link, but I try to make it as easy as possible to remember my Linktree page. So it's just linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter. That has all the links for all my social media. So if you folks are more active on one channel over the other, you're like, hey, I wonder if Dean's on there. Make sure you check out these links, and all my social media stuff is on there. All right. Now, for those of you on LinkedIn, make sure you subscribe to my LinkedIn newsletter. So I release a new LinkedIn newsletter edition of my newsletter every Monday, usually in the afternoon. And I usually started off by talking about something recruitment related. So more so on the recruitment side of things. That's more so for hiring managers, recruiters, and then people of those types of individuals. And then the second, I also include a portion in the newsletter dedicated to job seekers as well. All right. So if you're a hiring manager, someone in recruitment, you're a job seeker, you're an IT professional, or even a non-IT professional, or a job seeker out there, you will benefit from subscribing to my newsletter. I talk about various tips and advice and strategies, and I also give you the heads up on special guests I might be having on my stream as well. And by the way, just a quick thank you to all of you out there. I just recently reached 10,000 subscribers, which is huge for me. And look, not to brag, but I think I have one of the greatest and best LinkedIn network and LinkedIn connections out there. So the credit goes to all of you folks out there. I really appreciate your support. And I just feel like, I'm just so lucky and privileged to have all of you as part of my LinkedIn network and my LinkedIn connections, my LinkedIn base, my supporters. I really, really appreciate that. And what makes me happiest the most is that you don't get to that many subscribers by luck or chance. So what that tells me is that a lot of you are getting value out of my LinkedIn newsletter. So that in itself is great feedback, and I'm going to continue posting these newsletters every week, folks, Mondays. So if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you subscribe, and I hope all of you get value out of out of my newsletter. So really, really appreciate that. So also just a quick heads up, this stream as usual is sponsored by Tech Recruiters 360, which is my recruitment business. So if you're an IT professional, and I always forget to change this, but it's not just in the Greater Toronto area, but if you're an IT professional anywhere in Canada, you're an organization looking for tech professionals anywhere in Canada, definitely make sure you get in touch and help me out. I recruit across the board for various verticals within IT, typically ranging from mid-level to senior level IT professionals here in Canada. And for organizations, look, if you're an organization, whether you're a startup or you're a multinational organization with a presence here in Canada, happy to see if there's any way I can personally assist you. All right. So make sure you send me a direct message, send me a connection request, or let me know, and I'm happy to get in communication with you to see if there's any way I can help you out. Again, whether you're an organization or an IT professional looking for your next career move. All right. So the stream is also sponsored by my digital course and training company, which is DK Global Talent. If you're a job seeker and one of your greatest challenges right now is you're applying for jobs, but you're not able to get responses, make sure you check out my digital course for more information, because I teach a 3-step strategy through use of direct messaging that helps you stand out. All right. Based on my LinkedIn surveys and polls over the past year, typically over 60% of you have voted that your biggest challenge as a job seeker is applying to jobs and not getting responses. So through the use of the strategy that I teach in this course, and it's a digital course, it's done at your own pace in your own time. Total completion time is probably 3 to 4 hours, depending on how you progress through it. But I teach in there how to make use of direct messaging to get in direct contact with hiring managers as well as recruiters, so you can stand out and develop an effective message that'll increase your chances of getting responses, right? So I'm not saying every single person out there is going to start responding to your messages out of nowhere suddenly, but what I'm saying is you will see a lift in responses versus your resume just sitting in there, or your application just sitting in there. What I teach in this course is a more proactive means of getting the attention of hiring teams and recruiters. All right. So for more information about that, check out my website for my training company, which is dkglobaltalent.com/get responses. dkglobaltalent.com/get responses for more information on that. All right. So that being said, folks, let's get into today's topic. All right. We're talking about your mindset at job interviews. Let me just quickly check the comments here. So Ashwin, I see your question. I'm going to get to the question shortly. We got Deba Jyoti in the house. Always good to see you here, Deba Jyoti. Hope you're doing great. We got my friend Dwayne Moore in the house. Shout out to Dwayne. Folks, make sure you follow Dwayne. He's especially very, very, very active on Instagram as well as Twitter. He posts some great motivational stuff as well. Really positive guy that you want to follow on especially on Instagram as well as Twitter. Dwayne, feel free to share your Instagram and Twitter handle in the comments. And hey, always good to have you here, my friend. So appreciate that. Lizzie, I see your question, I believe. So let me see. Yeah, looks like it's a question. So Lizzie, hang tight. I'm going to get to your question shortly after I get into today's topic. All right. So mindset, folks. Your mindset at job interviews. All right. Your mindset will have an effect. Whoa, I went blurry there, didn't I? I think because I moved. There we go. So your mindset at job interviews, it can make a huge difference. Because look, I mean, the mind is the source of what you're gonna say, what you're thinking, what you're gonna say, how you're gonna present yourself, what you're gonna talk about, how you're gonna strategically navigate those conversations out there. So what is your mindset, folks? Well, like, this is such an important question you need to ask yourself, and that I got to ask myself as well. If I'm ever in a position where I'm looking for work or I'm looking for jobs, Dean, what is your mindset? What is my mindset when I'm approaching these interviews? Now, before I get and I have a couple of tips in terms of how I want you folks adjusting your perspective, the way you're looking at your interviews. Before I get into that, let's get into one simple fundamental, which will determine the rest of today's session. All right. And by the way, if you have any questions regarding any of this, feel free to start dropping them in the comments. I'll get to your questions shortly. But let's start with one fundamental, all right, folks? One simple fundamental, and that is this, and it's very simple. If you're taking notes, you want to write this down. The fundamental is this. Why do organizations hire? Okay, let's start with the essence of all of these things. Before we get into, hey, Dean, so how can I approach my interviews? How do I need to think about it? How can I do this? How can I do that? Calm down, folks, all right? Let's start with the fundamental, and that is, why do organizations hire in the first place? Now, organizations, folks, and I don't care what country you're from, I don't care what industry you're from, I don't care if you're an IT professional, a non-IT professional, you're a construction worker, you're an accountant, you're a caretaker, a janitor, I don't care what it is. Organizations hire for one reason and one reason only, folks. And that is the fundamental, that is the essence before we get into the mindset shift I want you to make. And that is, the organization has a problem or set of problems, a set of challenges, or they have a desired outcome or set of outcomes or ROI that they want to achieve, which can only be achieved or addressed through use of your skills and expertise, by finding or having someone on board with your skills, your expertise, your knowledge, your wisdom, all that stuff you bring to the table. That is the only reason any organization out there hires, folks, okay? There's a problem, a set of problems or challenges, or there is a set of desired outcomes, ROI, return on investment, something they want to achieve, which they can't do on their own right now, or they can't do with the current team that they have in place right now. They require someone with a specific skill set, knowledge, expertise, what else? Experiences, and they need this person on board so that they can, again, achieve those outcomes, achieve that ROI, return on investment, or solve those set of problems or challenges. And sometimes, folks, look, it's a mix of all of that. It's not just problem that they're trying to solve. It's also simply an outcome they want to achieve. And sometimes it's a mix. It could be both of them. Sometimes the problem is that they can't achieve the outcome, right? They can't achieve the ROI, the return on investment. So that in itself can be a problem, or a huge problem for the organization. So that is the fundamental. Let's start with that. That is the fundamental, right? Organizations hire for one reason and one reason only: to achieve a set of outcomes, to achieve a desired ROI, or to solve a set of problems or set of challenges that they're experiencing right now, or a mix of the two. That is it. That is the fundamental. So going from there, let's get into the first mindset shift I want you to make. And if you're, I highly recommend you take notes, folks. So if you're taking notes, be ready to take notes from this point onwards. Now, the first mindset shift. Okay, here's a mind-blowing one. I might be sarcastic here, but it's a mind-blowing one. But you are not a job seeker. Stop thinking of yourself as a job seeker, folks. This is mindset shift number one. Do not think of yourself as a job seeker. Now, I already know some of you what some of you are thinking. You're like, Dean, I follow your posts all the time. I follow your stuff on Facebook. Sorry, not Facebook, but yeah, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, all these places. And bro, you keep referring to people as job seekers. All right, you're right. I do use the term job seeker myself. Now, the only reason I use the term job seeker, folks, is simply because that is the most widely accepted term. And most of you are looking for advice. You're searching for posts that have the hashtag job seeker, or maybe the search term job seeker. And this is the most widely accepted term, right? In terms of how people refer to themselves as someone seeking out employment, right? Whether full-time, permanent, contract, temporary, whatever. But the fact is, going from that fundamental, you're not a job seeker, folks. And look, in my many years of working in recruitment, I have never once had a meeting with a hiring team, with a hiring manager who has told me, Dean, we need you to find job seekers. No, zero hiring managers out there, zero experiences have I had with hiring managers out there who I've had a meeting with who have told me, Dean, we need you to go find some job seekers. Never heard it, folks. But here's what I have heard hiring teams tell me, Dean, we got this problem, we got these set of problems, we got this project we're working on right now, and we need someone with such and such skill set, expertise, that we need you to go out there and find to help us with this problem that we're having. So look, although on the outside you might refer to yourself as a job seeker, folks, internally, mentally, I need you to stop thinking of yourself as a job seeker. You are not a job seeker. You are a solution provider. You are a problem solver, right? Now, this is not like some law of attraction thing I'm trying to do here. This is nothing like that. It's simply the way I need you to start thinking of yourself. Because a whole bunch of you are going on LinkedIn and you're posting, oh, I need a job, and hey, I'm a software developer, I'm looking for a job, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that. You're talking about a whole bunch of stuff about what you're looking for, but what's of most value to organizations out there, to recruiters out there, if you really want to grab their attention, is to talk about your ability to solve certain problems, folks. This is what a lot of you folks are not doing on your LinkedIn posts. I see you. Look, I'm not just posting stuff on LinkedIn. Hey, don't think that your friend Dean is not scrolling through his LinkedIn feed, looking at what you folks are posting. I am. And a lot of you are posting about your need for a job, but the huge nugget of gold that a lot of you are missing out on is all that wealth of problem-solving ability, knowledge, expertise that a lot of you folks bring to the table that you're not talking about in your posts, right? When you're posting about yourself on LinkedIn and you're focused so much on your need for a job, you're not talking about your problem-solving ability, your ability to. A lot of you out there, you solve multi-million-dollar problems and challenges, right? Especially those of you in tech. If you're a project manager watching this, you're a business analyst watching this, you're a developer, a software developer, you're even if you're like whatever aspect of tech you're in, chances are you've been involved in projects that were worth multi-millions of dollars, right? But you're not talking about that because you're thinking of yourself as a job seeker. That's what you're so focused on this whole idea of, yeah, I'm a job seeker, I'm looking for a job, which by the way you are, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the point here is you need to start thinking of yourself as a solution provider, as a solver of problems, as someone that solves these multi-million-dollar problems and challenges that organizations face. And all you got to do is look back at your previous work history to see that. Look, I'm not just talking a whole bunch of BS here, folks. I'm just telling you the reality of it, reality of the situation. A lot of you are not thinking about yourselves in this way, right? So as you approach your job search, as you approach your interviews, as you approach your even posting something on LinkedIn or Twitter about how you're looking for a job, that's fine. But write a little bit more. Write about the kinds of challenges you can solve. Write about the kinds of outcomes you can help organizations achieve. Write about the kinds of ROI you have maybe helped organizations achieve in the past. Now, I'm not talking about violating any non-disclosure agreements or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But at least, at an abstract level, it should be possible for you folks, a lot of you folks out there, to talk about these huge things that you've been a part of, right? And again, this connects with the fundamental, right? What is the fundamental? Why do organizations want to hire? They're not hiring out of the goodness of their hearts, all right? And even the nonprofits, even the charities out there, folks, are not hiring out of the goodness of their hearts or because they're charitable and they feel like yeah, today, let's give people jobs. No, it's nothing like that. It's because they have a problem. That problem requires people with certain skill set, expertise, problem-solving ability that they need at their organization to help with this project, with this set of problems, or these set of challenges that they're experiencing. And this is why I want you to stop at least mentally, okay? Maybe again, like I said, the term job seeker is the widely accepted term, but mentally, internally, right? I want you to remember your friend Dean said, you're not a job seeker. You need to start thinking of yourself internally, mentally, as a problem solver, as a solution provider, because that's in fact, folks, what organizations are looking for. They're looking for people that can help solve problems, achieve outcomes, help them with whatever set of problems they have with that, with some project they got going on, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So that's the point. That is the first mindset shift I need you to internalize at this point. Right. So let me quickly check the comments if we have any feedback here. Looks like it's mostly a question so far. So look, folks, um, I will get to your question shortly, but let me finish up with today's topic. All right, because I see some great comments and questions there. Okay, now point number two. Point number two, and this is a very important one as well, and this kind of builds upon the previous point as well as the fundamental I was speaking about. How are you thinking of the hiring manager and the interviewer, folks? How are you approaching and thinking about the hiring manager and the interviewer? And what I mean by this is, and I'm going to quickly talk about an example. What influenced my kind of my own shift in thinking about how I see the hiring manager and interviewer is you need to start thinking of the hiring manager and interviewer not as a hiring manager and interviewer, or not even as a hiring manager or recruiter, but you need to start thinking about them as the customer, right? This is another internal mental shift you need to make at your interviews. Stop thinking about the hiring manager as a hiring manager. Start thinking about them as a customer, because that's really what they are. Because going from what I spoke about before, folks, why are they there? Why are they there? Why are they sitting in that seat, interviewing you, right? Well, because they have a problem. They have a problem. They need potentially need your help in solving. And who else does that? Well, customers. That's what a customer does. A customer has a problem, and they go to solution providers in order to figure out which provider has the best, most effective, most efficient solution that they can provide to help them with the set of challenges or the outcomes that they want to achieve. And that's fundamentally what an interview is, folks, right? It's not just about you going in there and them being interested about learning everything there is to know about you. No, it's not. It's about them figuring out whether you have the skills, the knowledge, the expertise, the problem solving ability to help them out with whatever challenges they've got facing, that they're facing. So this next mindset shift is extremely important in how you navigate your interviews. Because if all you're thinking about is, oh yeah, well, the interview is about me going in there and talking about my projects and letting them know how great and awesome I am, yeah, that's only a part of it, folks. But a large part of it is the conversation is about whether or not you have the ability to help the customer, okay, also known as the hiring manager, help them out with the problem that they need help solving, right? And I first came across this idea when I was listening to this I think it was an MP3 a training program by the legend Brian Tracy. All right, anyone who's in sales, business development, marketing has probably heard of Brian Tracy. But it was this sales training a CD program that I listened to many years ago, and he talked about how even as an employee, we should never think of ourselves as an employee. You should always think of yourself as an independent, standalone business, right? You are Dean Kulaweera Incorporated. You are, whatever your name is, incorporated, and the company you're working for is the customer. That is your customer, and you got to be constantly thinking about ways to deliver value to your customers. Constantly be aware of what problems, what challenges, what areas they need assistance with or help with. And that is the mental, kind of the mindset you need to be going in when you're going in for work, and you're having these conversations with your team, your managers, your supervisors, and all these people. You got to think of yourself as a standalone business, a standalone entity, and all your coworkers, they're other vendors, other suppliers that you're working alongside. And I know this sounds kind of silly and childish, but you know what? When I'm making that perspective, really helped me out and really helped me see how I need to be navigating these business environments myself, right? And it's the same thing for your interviews, right? So don't think of yourself as the interviewer and the hiring manager as the interviewer, or the recruiter as the interviewer. You need to think of yourself as, hey, I'm the business. I'm the business. I'm the solution provider. I'm the person who's trying to communicate to them how I can help them with their challenges and their problems. And they are the customer, right? The interviewer is the customer. They're not. So stop thinking about them as a hiring manager. Start thinking about them as a customer, right? And when you start thinking about them as a customer, you start really thinking different in a different way about how you navigate these interviews. Because now when you're thinking about, okay, they're not an interviewer, they're a customer. Now, what I want you thinking about is how would you treat a conversation with someone who is a customer or a stakeholder? Now, those of you out there who might be project managers, business analysts, even someone more technical. Maybe you're a technical support person. Maybe you're a software developer. Maybe you're an accountant. Maybe you're a janitor. Right? When someone is a customer, how do you treat that conversation? Well, one of the major things you're going to do is you're going to take more efforts into understanding what problems and challenges that they have, right? Because if you don't understand their problems and challenges, you're not going to know how you're going to position yourself and really communicate to them that or how you're going to be able to help them, right? Because otherwise you're just some sale like you're almost like one of those salespeople that just randomly pitches every each and every aspect of your services and solutions, and that's how you kind of make customers zone out, right? They kind of lose interest. And who's ever experienced that, right? I mean, you go to a retail store, you go to the mall these days, and you meet a salesperson and you tell them what you're looking for, but they start talking about all their products and services and solution, and on the outside you're trying to be polite, on the inside you're like, oh my god, somebody kill me already. Like, this person is going on and on about a whole bunch of stuff that is not even relevant for me. Like, I just want to know about that one thing. Please get to the point and talk about that one thing, right? So it's the kind of the same mindset shift you got to make when you're thinking about the interviewer as a customer, right? And throughout now obviously you're not gonna the difference in the interview, of course, is that they're going to be asking you, like, the formal process is they're going to be asking you questions, right? But the fact is, there's no reason why you should not be asking your own questions yourself throughout the conversation, so you can better grasp what challenges this customer is experiencing, what this person is experiencing. And based on your stronger understanding, developing that stronger understanding is going to help you better develop the ability to highlight the most relevant aspects of what you have, what you bring to the table, and potentially deliver it to this customer, right? And again, for those of you out there, my friends out there who are business analysts and project managers, you probably have an easier time making this mental shift versus the rest of you that might not really be having these types of conversations throughout the day, right? So just think of the hiring manager not as a hiring manager, not as an interviewer. Start thinking about them as a customer, as someone who's coming to you for help in figuring out, hey, I have this problem, I have this challenge, I have these outcomes I want to achieve, and I'm trying to figure out how you can help me, or whether you have the ability to help me out with this stuff, right? So that is the next mindset shift, folks, right? And another thing is, again, I guess I kind of already covered this, but if you don't understand their challenges, if you don't understand what they're trying to achieve, yeah, sure, you might sometimes get lucky, maybe many times get lucky and talk about something that gets their attention. But if not, you're going to be just talking about a whole bunch of stuff that's not even relevant to them, that they don't even care about, or you're simply not going to stand out, right? So the better you show that empathy, that understanding, that you're trying to really grasp an understanding of their needs, their challenges, and their problems, the better you're able to do that. First of all, they're going to appreciate that, because they're going to be like, wow, this person definitely sounds like a pro, because they're focusing on the challenges that we're experiencing. And secondly, it's going to better equip you with the ability to focus on the most relevant stuff and highlight the most relevant stuff for the throughout the interview, for the remainder of the conversation, right? So that's a tip. And finally, another point in regards to that is, and this is the other mindset shift, is your salary. What you and I call salary and rate, you need to start thinking about it as the same way as a customer would think about making an investment, or the price that they will pay for a product, a solution, or service, etc. And that is what it is. And when it comes down to your salary negotiation, your rate negotiation, it's a matter of, I mean, whenever there's a discrepancy, whenever you're facing pushback from the hiring team, right? They're trying to negotiate, or they can't make sense of paying you a certain amount. Don't take it personally, folks, right? This is the mistake a lot of you make when you're in salary and rate negotiations. You right away, you folks are like, oh, this company's so cheap, this organization's so cheap, they don't want to pay me what I'm worth, and blah blah blah. And yeah, I mean, maybe there are some organizations out there that definitely are cheap, and they don't want to pay people what they're worth. But I mean, look, any organization like that is not going to last, or not going to do well with that caliber of talent, because they're not going to attract the kind of people they need for their organization, right? But outside of that, what you need to understand is, if you're not able to get the salary or rate you're looking for, it's because the customer, right? Remember, going by this analogy, the customer is having a hard time justifying the investment that you're asking them to make. And it pretty much comes down to that. Now, this is where you got to do some more probing, investigating to figure out what those, maybe there are certain shortcomings you have, maybe there are certain areas you haven't spoken about, or maybe it's because you were talking about a whole bunch of stuff that was not relevant to the problem or challenge that they're facing, right? So even in regards to your salary and rate, I want you to start thinking about it as the investment the business is going to be making in you, potentially in you, because that's what it is from their perspective, from the organization's perspective. They're not thinking about it as a salary and a rate. They're thinking about, hey, this is an investment that we're making in this individual in order to achieve some set of outcome, or solve this problem, or solve these challenges that we're experiencing. And if there's a disconnect between that, that's where they're going to find difficulty in securing the funds that you're asking for. So again, it's an investment for them, and if they have a hard time investing that money in you, it's because there's a disconnect between the problem that they have, the challenges that they have, the outcomes they're trying to achieve, and how well you communicated to them your ability to help them achieve that, right? So look, that was what I want to talk about in today's segment in terms of your mindset shift. A couple of mindset shifts in regards to how you're approaching your interviews, and frankly, I think this would apply to any area of your job search, right? Whether it's your resume, interviews, conversations with recruiters, conversations with hiring managers, conversations with recruiters, whatever it is, right? So if you got value out of today's session, folks, definitely make sure you hit like, and also feel free to share it with anyone else in your network that might be job searching right now, that would benefit from having a different mindset and approach to their interviews. And I guarantee if you follow this little mindset shift, folks, your interviews are going to be different. How you approach the interviews are going to be different. The conversations are going to be different. And look, I hope that it results in you getting a more beneficial outcome for yourself for your interviews. All right. So look, I hope today's session helped. And with that being said, I'm going to get into the Q&A right now. So I'm going to get into all of the amazing questions I see here. So feel free to put any questions you have in the comments. Don't feel shy, folks. No such thing as a foolish question or dumb question. So don't feel shy. Feel free to drop it in the comments. I will get to your question shortly, and I'll do my best to respond to every question before I end the session. All right. So with that being said, let's see who's up here first. So okay, let's see here. So we got I got a question from my friend Ashwin here from YouTube. So Ashwin says, I have a question regarding ATS. For every application, I make sure my resume matches the keyword in the description. However, I don't really receive any positive response. Is there any way we could find out how application looks like on the ATS? So Ashwin, like if you're trying to find out if there's a way to find out how the application looks like internally within the ATS after you submit it, no, unfortunately, no. Like the only people that have access to the ATS is usually the recruiter or the employee who has access to the ATS within the organization. So there's no way for you to see, how your application looks within the ATS. But this goes back to, the major challenge a lot of you are facing out there is, and by the way, Ashwin, you're not alone in this, right? I do this poll on LinkedIn every couple of months, and generally 64% plus of you have voted as this being the main issue. You're customizing your resume. You're doing everything right. Your resume looks great. You're looking at the job description. You're customizing your resume. You're submitting it to us, submitting the application. It ends up on an ATS and you're not getting responses. That is the number one challenge most of you are facing in your job search. And the problem here, and the unfortunate thing here, Ashwin, is it's not because there's any problem with your resume. It's not because you haven't done a good job in customizing it for the job description. The problem is you're competing against hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of other resumes. That is the problem here, right? A lot of you folks are spending so much time trying to figure out the ATS. Am I doing this right? Can I do this? Can I tweak this? Can I tweak that? Is there a trick that I can do to bypass the ATS? But the fact is, folks, every single application and resume submitted to an ATS actually ends up in the ATS. It is there. It's there. But the problem is it's just not showing up because you're competing against so many other applications, right? And this is why Ashwin for everyone else out there, this is exactly why I always talk about you're up against a huge amount of competition if you're only depending on applying online and just waiting for a response. Now, before COVID, and folks, by the way, feel free to research this, all right? Don't take my word for this. Do your research on this as well. Before COVID, right? Before COVID-19, It was estimated that for every job opening, every job posting, there were on average 250 applications on average for every job posting. That means for every job posting out there, there are at least 250 applicants, competing applicants. Now, for your resume to stand out in that bunch, I mean, statistically, I mean, this is why so many of you are not getting responses, right? Very few of you, like no recruiter out there, no hiring manager out there is going to review each and every one of those 250 on average applications. Now, after COVID, it's possible that this number might have increased. I don't know. I haven't been able to find any numbers relevant to COVID, but feel free to do your research, folks. Right? But the point here is, it's very difficult to stand out amongst hundreds and hundreds of other applications. And this is why I always talk about you got to go above and beyond simply hitting submit, right? And this goes for you, Ashwin, as well as everyone else out there. You can't simply apply for a job and just wait for a response. This is where you're going to be depending on a whole bunch of factors that might be beyond your control, including what keywords the recruiter is going to use, including what's important on the job description, because not everything on the job description is important. And you have no way of really figuring out what is important. And simply the fact is, no matter how great your resume is, it might simply be that it's showing up within the ATS at the end of the list. So by the time the recruiter goes through the list and your application is, I don't know, number 100 on the list, and the recruiter, by the time they get to the 20th person that they call on the list, they find the short list of 5 applicants that they want to call in for interviews. They're not going to get to your resume, right? They're not going to get to your application, and it simply comes down to that. So this is why, for those of you interested, if you want more information, this is what I talk about in my course, Applying to Jobs Online 101. This is why I am an advocate for making direct contact with recruiters, with hiring managers, so you can actually stand out. So you're not just waiting for a response, but you're able to actually initiate contact, initiate communication with these individuals, so you can at least get a response and increase your chances of getting an interview. Now, of course, you got to write an effective message, which I also cover in this course. But for those of you out there, if you want more information about that, how to make use of direct messaging to increase your chances of getting responses, check out my course, dkglobaltalent.com/get responses, dkglobaltalent.com/get responses, right? But in any case, folks, even if you don't check out this course, my advice for those of you out there, including Ashwin and everyone else out there, don't depend on just applying for a job and waiting for a response. It's a losing game, right? Try and find ways to make direct contact with the hiring manager, the recruiter, someone internally at the organization. Like, that's how you're going to really stand out and be able to get yourself or increase your chances of getting responses, right? So hope that helps, Ashwin. And thanks for your question. We got Lizzie Ojo in the house. So shout out to Lizzie. Thanks so much for tuning in, Lizzie. Lizzie says, thank you for all you do. Hey, no worries, Lizzie. Appreciate that. Trying to recruit salespersons for my company, real estate in Nigeria, but it's one of the most difficult job roles I've been trying to fill in a long while. Any tips you could give to help me? I'll be glad. Okay, so Lizzie, now I'm not sure what exactly the challenges you are facing, but I would assume that maybe it's a matter of high levels of competition, and maybe you're experiencing challenges in finding people for your real estate company. So a couple of tips come to mind. Number one is, Lizzie, frankly, you got to make sure that whatever compensation package, salary, compensation, bonuses, benefits, whatever the package is at your company is on par with what's being offered in the marketplace, right? This is one shortcoming I see a lot of companies make is not having an attractive compensation package. Now, I'm not saying that's the case for your company, Lizzie, but just make sure that you're doing some research in terms of what other competing real estate firms are offering, their salespersons right now in the market in Nigeria, right? And it could be based on your city. I'm not sure which city you're in, Lizzie, but you got to do some research there, right? So a great way to do this is simply look for job postings for salespeople in the real estate industry in the city that you're at in Nigeria, right? This is something you got to do. Second thing is, you got to understand it might be very, very competitive. Real estate is a very competitive industry, and I'm sure it's probably the same in Nigeria as well. You might have to make use of more proactive means in finding people, meaning it might not be enough, Lizzie, to just post a job and just wait for a response. You might have to take more proactive measures, such as identifying people at these competing real estate organizations and maybe sending them an email, maybe sending them a LinkedIn, sending them a LinkedIn email or a LinkedIn message, sending out connection requests. Like, you might have to make some really proactive means. And I know this might sound very old school, Lizzie, But hey, you might even have to make some cold calls. All right, so actually coldly call these competing brokerages, these competing real estate companies, and trying to get hold of these their existing salespeople to see if any of them might be interested in the opportunity to work at your company, right? And the third thing that I would suggest that you do, Lizzie, is you want to talk about the long-term potential at your organization, right? Because a lot of these salespeople you might be reaching out to, maybe they're making good commissions and good money right now. So the challenge for you might be is, hey, how do I get them to walk away from that and accept this maybe lower base salary and putting the long-term effort to start building commissions with us. So this is where maybe, Lizzie, I don't know if you have any signing bonuses and stuff like that. You might want to talk about that, but also talk about the long-term growth potential of your organization, right? Talk about the wins and successes your organization is having, and based on that, you got to be selling them on why they should potentially walk away from their organization and consider yours. And before you even do that, which would be my fourth tip for you, Lizzie, as much as possible, when you do get on the phone with these salespeople from other real estate companies, as much as possible, understand their career goals and aspirations, right? Before you get into pitching them about your company, your organization, ask them about, hey, what's not perfect where you're at right now? What could be better? I mean, how would you describe the ideal real estate brokerage? Like, what would you consider? Like, what type of an opportunity would it take for you to consider leaving where you're at right now? So asking these questions, Lizzie, and getting a better understanding of that will help you better understand what you got to highlight at your real estate brokerage, right? So look, hope that helps, Lizzie. All the best. Let me know if that helps in the comments. We got another question from Piranha. So shout out to Piranha. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so Piranha says, hi, Dean. I just have a quick question. I have been into the IT industry for 4 years now and have been working with different products. But how do I deal with a question when the recruiters ask for my GitHub? So I'm not sure. So Piranha, I'm assuming you recruiters are asking you for your GitHub link, and I'm assuming you don't have one, Piranha, or I'm not sure what your question really is here. But if you have a GitHub link, GitHub account, then yeah, I mean, share with the recruiter. The reason why the recruiter is probably asking for this, Piranha, is they probably want to pass this on to the hiring manager or maybe some person on the team who's more technical, that's going to take a look at your GitHub and GitHub account and see what you've been working on and all that stuff. So that's probably why they're asking for it. So I'm not sure if you're a developer or what your background is, but if you're a software developer or software engineer, Piranha, I would highly recommend you have a GitHub account because it's a great opportunity for you to showcase stuff and projects that you might be working on. And what I've noticed personally, Piranha, from hiring managers and hiring teams that I've recruited on behalf of, a lot of them do ask for GitHubs, like from the recruitment team, like they do ask, hey, try to get the candidates GitHub so we can take a look at that as well. So, I mean, that would be my 2 cents on that. But maybe if you can be more specific about what exactly you're asking, Piranha, maybe I might be more helpful. Dwayne Moore says he's at Dwayne E. Moore on Twitter and Instagram. Yeah, so folks, make sure you follow Dwayne. He's a great guy to follow on Twitter and Instagram. Posts a lot of customer service related stuff, customer success stuff, and also a lot of inspirational, motivational stuff as well. All right. So make sure you follow Dwayne on Twitter as well as Instagram. All right. So thanks for tuning in, Dwayne. Always great to have you here. We got a question from Debajyoti. So Debajyoti, thanks for your question. So Debajyoti says, hi, Dean. I have a total 10.7 years in experience in IT. I have worked in several roles. I am awaiting my PR now. My question is, when I start applying jobs in Canada, I'm expecting I will be applying all types of roles. So if recruiter asks why I'm applying a lower or entry-level role, what can be a justified approach as a candidate which can satisfy the recruiter? Yeah, so Debajyoti, right off the bat, I mean, there's no way to justify why you, as someone with over 10 years of experience, would be applying for a lower or entry-level role unless you're doing a career change, right? You should not be, Debajyoti, listen to me, like, this goes to you and everyone else out there. If you have 10 plus years of experience in IT, I mean, I don't see any reason why you should be applying for entry-level roles. You are not an entry-level candidate. Okay, and I don't care what country you're from, folks. There's this huge misconception, especially in tech, where all of that experience you have in IT from another country is no longer applicable over here. Not true, folks. All right. Now, are there hiring managers out there? Are there organizations out there that might discriminate against people from other countries? Unfortunately, yes, but it's not legal. Okay, in fact, it's not legal for any company to ask you or reject you because you don't have Canadian experience. And apart from that, it just makes zero sense to reject someone from another country, especially in tech, because they don't have Canadian experience. Like, what does that even mean in IT, right? I mean, IT is the same. I mean, you're working with any IT product or service or solution or standard or methodology. I mean, it's the same in Japan or China or Indonesia or Nigeria or India or Canada or America. Like, I mean, the technology itself is the same, right? So, David Jyoti, if you have 10 plus years of experience, you should be aiming for roles with senior level experience. Like I'm not sure what your background is, but I mean, no recruiter, no hiring manager, no recruiter is going to consider you for an entry level role, right? It's just not going to happen because right off the bat, what they're going to be thinking is, as soon as you find something much more in par with your years of experience, you're going to leave them, right? So no organization is going to consider you for an entry level role simply because they know that you're probably trying to use them as a stepping stone. And as soon as a senior level role comes up, which is more on par with your years of experience, you're out of there. You're going to leave, right? That is the concern. So that's why no recruiter, no organization is going to take you seriously if you, as someone with 10 plus years of experience, is applying for a lower or entry level role. It's not going to happen, right? So just keeping it real here, David Jyoti, right? Just letting you know the real deal. I hope that helps, right? Let me know if that helps, and let me know in the comments. We got Peter Mihawk in the house. Hey, Peter, shout out to Peter. Folks, any interest in PMO stuff? This is the guy you want to follow, right? He's very involved in the PMO community. So make sure you look up Peter and connect with him. Always good to have you here, Peter. Gabriella Alcina in the house. Shout out to Gabriella. Gabriella says, do you provide feedback on resumes too? On my live streams, yes, I do, Gabriella, right? So if you're brave, if you're okay with me reviewing your resume on the live stream, let me know in the comments. I can send you a link to add you to the stream, and I can review your resume on the air. Although we are kind of tight on time right now, but if you want, Gabriella, what you want to do is make sure you tune in next week, Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone, and I'm happy to do a live review of your resume as well. All right, just make sure you remove your personal information. And I'm happy to do a review of your resume on the live stream. Right now, if you want a one-on-one review, I do charge for that one-on-one. But feel free to send me a direct message for more information about that. But this goes for everyone else out there, right? Look, I'm here to help you folks out. So if you want me to do it complimentary, I'm happy to do that on the stream. But I only do that on my live streams. All right. So Gabriella, hope that helps, and let me know. And if you want me to review your resume on the live stream, tune in next week, my friend, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone on Wednesday. I'm happy to do that for you, right? So Peter says, isn't that a simple supply-demand question on a higher level from each parties? You have needs, demands, and things to offer. It's the same on the organization side. They have needs and offers. The question is if these match. Yeah, exactly, Peter, right? I mean, look, if I can simplify the interview, folks, it pretty much comes down to this, right? I mean, both parties have wants and needs. And the whole purpose of the conversation is the intersection between those wants and needs, right? The interview is not just about the job seeker or the solution provider, excuse me, and the interview is not just about the organization as well, right? It's about the intersection between the two. The organization has a problem, set of challenges, an outcome they want to achieve. And you as the person that they want to interview has a certain skill set, expertise that you bring to the table that can help them with those things that they need help with. So it's really about the intersection between the two, right? So definitely agree with you, Peter. Great point there. We got Philip in the house. Hey, Philip, good to have you here. Philip is a great person. I always point in. I don't know how the weather people do it, but yeah, Philip here is a great person to follow. Look up Philip on Twitter. He puts out some great information about, especially about management and managing people and being a good leader. Just great stuff. So make sure you look up Philip and follow him on Twitter as well. And by the way, Philip, I'd love to have you as a guest on here someday to talk about how to be a good leader and management and all that stuff. So we'll communicate about that, Philip. If you're still on there, just let me know. I'd love to have you on the show sometime as well. All right. So thanks so much for tuning in. Ashwin says, "Hey Dean, I have two more questions. I'm moving to Canada in late April, and am I right in actively seeking full-time jobs, or am I applying a bit too early?" Yeah, Ashwin, I mean, I would say it might be a bit too early, because if you're arriving in late April, right now maybe organizations or companies might not take you as seriously as someone who might already be here, and simply given there is higher levels of competition right now. Like, I'm not sure if you're in IT or some other industry, but I would say maybe early April might be the best time, or maybe late March, later this month, and early April might be the best time, because that way you can actually at least get past the remote interviews, the video interviews, the phone interviews, and stuff like that. And then by the time you arrive, you can start working and all that stuff. Because over here, companies, they expect you to start working as soon as possible, right? If it's a serious hiring serious hiring need and stuff like that, like they usually expect you to start working typically within 2 weeks after the offer is signed and approved, right? Where And what I mean by that is, you've signed the offer, you're like, okay, yeah, I want to work for you and stuff like that. Usually, typically, the companies ideally want you to start 2 weeks after that date. Generally, I mean, that's the case. But so that's why I would suggest later this month, late March, early April is when you should start applying, Ashwin. All right. So hope that helps. And also wanted to know how you deal with questions, personal, technical, for which you don't have an answer, and it just becomes some sort of a shortcoming. How do you let the company know you're willing to learn at the job you're applying for as well? All right. So I guess, Ashwin, your question is, how do you respond to a question which you don't have an answer to, and it just sort of becomes a shortcoming? Well, there's two ways to address this, Ashwin, right? And this is something I always recommend to everyone. There's two ways to address this. And the first way is, if you don't have direct experience with the area that they're asking you about, the first thing you want to do is you want to talk about something similar, right? Something similar you have experience with. So maybe they're asking you about experience with, I don't know, tool ABC. You don't have experience with tool ABC, but you do have experience with a very similar tool called tool XYZ, right? So you want to talk about this other tool, talk about the similarities between the two, and then talk about and give an example about how you were successfully able to use this very similar tool. And because of the similarities, you should be able to very easily pick up on and use whatever it is they're asking you about at their organization. So that's scenario number one. Scenario number two is, let's say you don't have experience with anything similar at all. Then just give an example of a time in the past where you were able to pick up on and study, pick up on something entirely new. You were at some other company. They threw you into this project. You had to pick up on something entirely brand new. Maybe they provided you with some guidance. Maybe they didn't provide you with guidance, but you learned it. You took the initiative. You learned it, picked up on it, and provided some successful outcomes, and you successfully delivered on something. You want to talk about an example like that, and then you want to end it off by saying, in the same manner, Mr. and Mrs. Hiring Manager, I can do the same for you and your organization in the same manner, and help you get the successful results, just like I did at this organization in the past when I was thrown into this thing where I had zero idea about this thing that they wanted me to work on, right? So that would be my suggestion, Ashwin. Hope that helps. Let me know in the comments. So Philip says, Dean, can you help explain that one of the big problems applicants face with ATS is that applicants have to guess what keywords are that the recruiters are using. Applicants with most keyword matches rise to the top. To combat, applicants should always take advantage of cover letter opportunities. Otherwise, they're missing a chance for differentiation. Same goes for seeking out contact info for the recruiter and following up on your application. Just taking your chances in the ATS is yeah. So I think your comment got cut off there, Philip. But yeah, I totally agree with you. 100% agree with you, Philip. This is definitely a challenge so many applicants are facing, right? You can't guess the keywords the recruiter is using. I mean, you had to be like a psychic or clairvoyant. And not every recruiter is going to use the same keywords, the same keyword combinations. I mean, it's just impossible to almost guess that stuff, right? So I definitely agree with what Philip is saying here. You definitely want to make use of cover letters. But even if you have a great cover letter, that's no guarantee you're going to be found within the ATS, right? So I definitely agree with those additional things you mentioned as well, Philip. Like, you have to take some additional steps, folks. You have to make direct contact. You have to follow up. Don't depend on just sending out your application and just expecting and waiting for a response. You have to be proactive, right? So I definitely agree with what Philip is saying here. So Philip is suggesting a cover letter. Yeah, so definitely if you want to take the use of a cover letter, you can definitely make use of that. And the other thing is, you want to go above and beyond. Follow up, folks. Don't get so upset that you didn't get an immediate response that you don't follow up. It could simply be they just didn't come around to your resume, right? It could just simply be that. You got to be willing to follow up, and you got to be willing to make direct contact. You got to do some research and figure out, hey, who might be the potential hiring manager for this role? Who's the recruiter that might be handling this role? And make direct contact. You want to get their attention and stand out in that fashion as well. Because look, recruiters, hiring managers, they come across so many. Look, let me give you a quick example, folks. All right, let's say someone posts a job description and they get a job posting and they get 200 applications, right? No recruiter on this planet is going to go through each and every one of those 200 applications, folks. All right, it's just going to be too time consuming. So the first thing the recruiter is going to do is they're probably going to run a keyword search. Now, of that keyword search, maybe it might be narrowed down to, I don't know, let's say 75 applications, right? So the remainder is not even going to be seen. There's 75 search results, right, that come up with these specific keywords. Now, the next thing the recruiter is going to do is they're going to sequentially phone call each candidate. They're going to give a quick look at the resume, right? They're going to quickly look, okay, does this look like the person has what we're looking for? Okay, good. Then they're gonna pick up the phone. They're gonna call the job applicant, and they're gonna do this for each of these 75 applications. But guess what, folks? They're not gonna get through all 75, right? Typically, the recruiter might have to talk to maybe, I'd say, 15 to 20 applicants that they get a hold of. And of those 15 to 20, they're going to shortlist it to maybe 3, 4, 5 people that they're going to present to the hiring team. Now, what happens to the rest of you? Your application is just sitting there. You're not even going to get seen, right? So this is why it's so important to go beyond just hitting submit and send and just waiting for a response. The numbers are not working in your favor, folks. You got to make direct contact. You got to take initiative. You got to be proactive. You got to go beyond hitting clicking on submit or send, right? You got to make direct contact. You got to find other ways to stand out. Otherwise, you're just going to sit there in a pile of digital dust, and no one's going to see your application until some point in the future. Someone runs a keyword search, and sometimes magically your application shows up, like in a couple of months or a couple of years. Who's ever experienced that, right? Where a recruiter calls you after a few months or a few years sometimes, and you're like, okay, like, why didn't you call me when I was looking for work? I'm employed now. Well, that's what happens, folks, right? The keyword search did not bring up your resume right then and there, or maybe there were a whole bunch of other applications, and suddenly your application did come up because of a certain keyword combination the recruiter put up, and now they're calling you after a couple of months or after a few years even, right? So that's what happens. Like, you got to be taking more proactive means of following up, right? So hope that helps, Philip, and let me know in the comments. And Gabriella says, oh, sweet, thank you. Yeah, no worries, Gabriella, no worries. We got Phillips gives me a thumbs up. All right, awesome. So Philip, definitely love to have you in the future segment as a guest. We'll talk about that later. Ashwin says, thanks, Dean, for the advice. No worries, Ashwin. Gabriella says, how to follow up on LinkedIn. It seems like the convo gets lost on chat. Yeah, so Gabriella, I mean, look, one of the challenges with follow-up, and this is the mistake some of you make. I'm not saying you're making this mistake, Gabriella, but this goes to everyone out there. A lot of you, what you're doing is you're engaging in a lot of small talk, right? Like, your follow-up is not really follow-up. Like, you need to stay focused. You need to understand that the person, whether it's a recruiter, whether it's a hiring manager, I mean, they're not looking to chit chat. They're not looking to make friends on LinkedIn. I mean, yeah, that might happen organically, but the most immediate concern is they have a problem. They have a challenge. They have a project they need help with. So your follow-up needs to speak to that, right? So in your follow-up, like, you got to be a little creative. You got to put in a little variety, Gabriella. So if it's I'm not sure what your background is, Gabriella, but let's say you're I don't know. Let's say you're a project manager or something, right? And you're following up. Well, your follow-up should include maybe something you noticed on the job description, right? So your follow-up might be, hey, Dean, I applied to the project manager's job description you posted last week. Just wanted to follow up because I noticed on your job description you mentioned XYZ, and XYZ is actually an area that I've been involved in many projects in, and one of the major projects was for company ABC, which is a well-known e-commerce company. Would love to tell you more about that project that I had. When do you have a few minutes for a quick chat, right? That might be an example of one follow-up. Okay, Dean doesn't respond. Okay, maybe next week you follow up with me again and you say, hey, Dean, Gabriella here. We've been, I messaged you last week. I just noticed you posted something about, that project manager role that you're recruiting on. I understand that you might still be recruiting on the position. Just wanted to let you know I'm still interested. Would love to have the opportunity to speak to you about this role. I'm available today between blah, blah, blah and blah, blah, blah. What would work for you? Do you have a few minutes for a quick chat? Like, don't give up just after one or two follow-ups, folks, right? And this goes not just for Gabriella, but for everyone else out there. And you also got to be looking for little gimmicks and reasons as to get into touch and getting communication with the people you're reaching out to. And don't give up just after one or two follow-ups, folks. Like, follow-up is a consistent thing that you need to be carrying out over a period of time, right? And the point of follow-up is not always to get a response that's like, okay, yeah, we want to give you an interview or something. One of the major components of follow-up is simply maintaining communication, right? Being on top of their mind. And don't take it personally if you don't get a response, Gabriella, right? And everyone else out there. It could simply be that they're focused on something else. They missed your message. Something else came up or whatever. Like what you got to do, folks, is you got to stay in there, be consistent, and keep following up, right? But at the same time, the other tip is, do not put all your hopes and wishes on this one company. This is how a lot of you get disappointed in follow-up. You're putting all your hopes and wishes on this one company you're really excited about, or a handful of companies. But while you're following up with these companies that you're excited about, that you're interested about, you want to continue your job search. You want to continue interviewing, continue job searching, continue putting yourself out there for other opportunities. And that's how you're going to maintain that enthusiasm, that excitement, and keep moving through and going through with your job search, right? So that being said, folks, looks like that was the final question. So hope that helps, Gabriella, and appreciate everyone tuning in. Don't forget, if you got value out of today's session, make sure you hit me up with a like and share, and mark your calendars every week, Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone. I'm right here to help you folks out with job search related tips, advice, and strategies. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in, and I'll see you around next time. All right, have a wonderful remainder of the day. Don't give up, keep pushing through, and I'll see you around next time, folks.